Good morning, guys. It's nice to see you. Thanks for hopping in here. I'm Jacob, and I am a licensed realtor and Notary of Public, and I am here to help you get to a better place and more prepared to purchase your home or to just put yourself in a stronger position in life. As far as finances go, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not to be taken as direct advice to you. This is just me sharing my stories. Take out of it what you will. But make sure you see a licensed professional if you have any questions for your particular situation. All right, now the disclaimer's out of the way. Basically, one of the things that is misunderstood is when you're applying for loans for homes, DTI or debt utilization. A lot of times when people are speaking to a lender, the lender is talking in terms of DTI, and what you are sometimes understanding the conversation to be is a debt utilization. There are many times where I speak to people and they're like, oh, I have X number of debt and I need that to be below 50% because my lender told me it needs to be below 50%. Well, basically, when it comes to DTI, DTI is the sum of your monthly minimum payments, typically, and that is going to be put against your monthly average income. So a real simplified example is you bring in $200 a month in income, and you basically have a $50 minimum internet bill and a $50 minimum water bill, and let's just say that that's all that you have. So you have $100 in minimum monthly bills divided by your 200 monthly income, and that would be a 50% DTI. Okay. It is not the same as credit utilization. So credit utilization is the amount of funds you have available on your credit card to use versus how much you're actually using. So an example of that, of debt utilization, is going to be if I have a $100 credit card limit and I've used $50 of that limit, then that would be a 50% debt utilization. So that's just some common definitions right there on the difference between DTI and utilization. Sorry about that. Looks like it's time to start getting ready. Debt to income levels versus debt utilization. Now, the debt to income levels, the lenders normally like that to be about 50% or less on most loans. To my understanding, speak to your lender, okay? But that's how I understand it. All right. Now, the kind of little hack for debt utilization, which affects your credit score, typically, is that there are some big markers that I've experienced and noticed big changes in my score. So that's normally when I'm at a 30% or less score, a 10% or less score, or paying it off. All right, which kind of is going to segue into us talking about payments on what I like to do. So one of the things that I like to do is pay more than once a month. So a lot of times people just pay once a month. They pay their minimum, they calculate it out that way. I do my best to pay my bills twice a month. Okay, so we're done with this topic. We're moving on to number 2. So I like paying mine roughly on the 5th and the 20th. But what you can do is you can open up your statements, and there's going to be a date in there that tells you when your payment posts, basically. And that way you can make one payment before it posts and one a little after. And to my understanding, the way I'm interpreting that is you basically get 2 times a month that your payment is posting and building your history. So it's showing more of compliance and more of staying on top of your payments. It's going to basically also compound the payoff because you're getting less interest if you're doing 2 payments in a month. So not only are you paying it down, you're showing more than one recorded payment per month. So you're increasing the amount of payments that you're making in a year. And you're also, compounding your debt pay down. So normally I pick cards, and sometimes you can change the date too. You can call customer service and have the pull date changed sometimes. But normally I'll do my first payment between the 1st and the 5th, and I'll do my last payment between the 15th and the 25th normally. And, kind of more so the 20th, which is why I put that over here, because you need a couple of days for it to report. So these are kind of the 2 ranges that I like to use. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit if you were curious about what I do. So that covers payments. All right, so the next thing is like, well, okay, I don't have extra money to make my payments. Well, something that you can do, and by you I mean what I've done, is I've basically done balance transfers. Now, the trick here though is that sometimes there's a fee, and that fee is normally 3 to 5%. So that's $3 to $5 for every 100 that you are, transferring. And, if you're in the thousands, then that's, 30 to 50. If you're in the tens of thousands, then that's 300 to 500. So you just want to make sure that it makes sense from that standpoint. Now, the cool thing about balance transfers is that there are cards out there that occasionally do a 0% APR for, let's say, I don't know, 18 to 21 months is normally what I see coming in. And they'll have a 0% fee for your first balance transfer. So these are the ones that I like to use personally. That way you're not taking on that extra debt. You're being able to transfer some of the funds over. And even if you're not able to transfer over all of it, if you're, let's say you have 10,000 in debt and you're only able to transfer, 2K of it or 5K of it or whatever you're able to transfer, that's still this much interest that's no longer being paid here, because your payments are normally a combination of your principal, which is your borrowed amount, plus your interest. And if this number gets too high in a combination of your interest and your principal is too low, like, I don't know, $100 payment, but 25, I don't know what that is. 25 goes to your principal and 75 goes to your interest. Well, that seems like you're sliding backwards, right? That's a slippery slope. There we go. Got it. So what you can do sometimes is you can use that balance transfer to get your interest payment down so that more of your money is going towards principal, ideally to pay it off sooner. Ideally, you're hustling and doing extra payments, and that would kind of set you up for success. So that's what I look for on balance transfers. I look for 0 interest APR for 18 to 21 months, and then I look for 0% balance fee. A lot of times when you're getting ready to buy a home, you're like, oh, well, I really want to get a vehicle first. Well, this is no bueno, because what this does is this raises your DTI, right? So what this does is this raises your DTI. So if you're making $500 in bills a month, and then you add a vehicle, a lot of times that payment on that vehicle is anywhere from $200 to $500 a month. Well, now your utilization, or excuse me, not your utilization, now your debt to income ratio just was dwarfed, right? So like if you were at $500 before and you bring in $1,000, that's a 50% DTI. So you're still good. You're 50% or below for getting your loan. You add this vehicle in here, and now you're $700 to $1,000 a month of your $1,000. And now you are very sad because it is going to take you probably a decent amount of time to pay off that vehicle, which has your interest in it plus your principal, even if it's a low percent. It just isn't strategic. You should be doing, let me rephrase that. if it were me, I would be buying a home first, because there's nothing stopping you after you close on that home from going out and getting that vehicle. But that vehicle will absolutely stop you getting a home. So that's why I don't like new vehicles. In general, it's the biggest loss of money as quickly as possible in the first place, because normally you'll lose 20 to 30% of the of the value as soon as you drive off the lot. So as soon as you drive away, you're throwing that out the window, in my opinion. So Meet Kevin talks about wedge deals, and if there's any space to buy wedge deals, it's vehicles, in my opinion. So you can use Kelley Blue Book, which is what most people do to assess value. But here's the crazy thing: is it's based off the market value a little bit, and as prices have risen, so has KBB to like positions that I don't necessarily think are validated. Now, what I like to use is NADA, NADA. So NADA is typically more in line with what dealers, like car dealerships or motorcycle dealerships, will pay you for your vehicle so that they can make a spread on it. So I don't buy vehicles based off of Kelley Blue Book. I buy them based off of NADA. And that way, there's typically enough of a spread in there that you can use the vehicle for like 1 to 2 years and then sell it and actually profit from it. Now your vehicle's free. So who cares about a new vehicle? Just buy in a wedge and then flip it in a couple years and it's free. All right, so now when it comes to you're purchasing your home, and you can do vehicle transfers. So let's say you already made the mistake and you went from $500 a month in bills with $1,000 in income, and you bought that vehicle. So now you're at $700 of the $1,000. Well, you can gift sometimes this vehicle to a family member, and then now you're back to 500. So now you're bueno. You can get that loan for your mortgage because you have reduced back down from 700 to 500. So that'll probably require a letter telling, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Lender, I don't have my car anymore. I gave it to a family member, so this debt's wiped. And then, I don't know, a couple years down the road, if they want to sell it back to you or gift it back to you, they can do that whenever they want. So that's up to you guys. So the other thing is credit scores. So a lot of times I see people wait because they're like, oh, I have such a low score. I'm, 690 and I won't buy until I'm at 720. Well, the thing is they're probably using a mobile app, that tells them their FICO score, or maybe they're using like Credit Karma, or one of these ones, right? Well, the things is those are consumer credit scores. There's like a lot of these things. There's like, I don't know, 10 to 15. I'm speculating here. I don't remember the exact number. But the point is there's a lot of different sources that you get these things. Like there's FICO 8, there's FICO 12, and each of these are used for different things. Some of them are for consumer debt, some of them are for real estate, etc. So long story short, your score could be 20 points higher or lower from what you're seeing on your online app. So the point of that is that you're really not going to know until you call a lender. A lender needs to do like a vitals check. Like when you go into the doctor, what do? They take your pulse, they check your head, your height, your weight. They ask you if you've been feeling dizzy. They ask you if you had any, flu-like symptoms lately. They ask like a precursor of questions before you even see the doc to help kind of figure out if you're even in the right place. Maybe you need to see, an eye doctor or a skin doctor, or maybe you need to not be in there because you're, contagious with something. Anyways, long story short, getting your credit pulled by a lender, typically when you're in the transition of getting ready to purchase a home, or you think you're in the position to purchase a home, is your checkup sheet. It is the bare minimum that you should do. The bare minimum. like a lot of people will find an agent or a home, and then they're like, okay, now I really am jazzed up about this. Let's talk to a lender now. I didn't want to be pestered before. Let's talk to him now. Well, honestly, the smoothest transactions are the ones where someone's actually spoken to a lender first. They help get you ready to buy. Like if you're not in a position of strength for an offer, they will help you with a roadmap to get there. There's no guesswork. All this stuff that I'm talking about right now, they can lay it out for you. And if they can't, then, maybe do some interviews with some other ones, but they should have a general understanding of all these ins and outs to try and help you out. So long story short, if there's, one takeaway from here is basically use some of these tips to, get those mind juices flowing and do some research and talk to some professionals and see what's right for you. But, talk to a lender, get involved with your local lender. I recommend local lenders because a lot of times in transactions that actually makes a difference. Those relationships and proven history of strength and the ability to pivot to a local office if any paperwork needs signed last minute. I would talk to a local lender. I would talk to a couple of them and see which one you vibe with, because not all lenders are equal. And I mean that not from a professional standpoint of how they conduct business, but I mean literally the products that they offer are not the same from lender to lender. So maybe you heard of some cool grant or first-time home buyers program, and you're asking your lender if you could use it, and they're like, we don't do that, or we don't know anything about that, what have you. Another office may. It doesn't mean that you should go with that other office or not, but it means that if you're not getting the answer to the question, it's probably because the product's not offered in the first place, and it could be offered elsewhere. So just do your due diligence, interview your lenders, try and keep your amount of payments that you're making versus the income you're bringing in at least 50% below if you want to position yourself for strength. Ideally, you shouldn't let, ideally I wouldn't let my credit card debt, stay on the cards in the first place. I would use the cards and then pay them off in the course of 30 days or less on, somewhere between the 1st and the 5th and the 15th and the 20th. And then that way, by the end of the statement, there's no balance. I'm not paying any interest on it. I'm getting the credit card points. I've already racked up like enough points this year to buy 2 tickets to go to Japan, which is a goal of mine. So you can do that through your everyday normal spend. There's definitely other cool things that help you accumulate points, such as bonuses. One program that I will drop in here for you, just because I use it personally, is a program called Max Rewards. I was a little bit skeptical of it at first. I was like, oh, it's just this thing that people are pushing or whatever, but I actually find it super, super helpful. So what it will do is it will actually, I don't know if you can see that, but it will actually show you your cards, show you your balances. You can like go into a location and you'll hit this little market button on it, and it will bring up the businesses that are around you. And you can tap on the business that you're in, and it will tell you which of your credit cards actually gives you the highest amount of points for shopping in that place. Because it's always like one of the hardest things for me was remembering which card I should use for what location if you have more than one card. And this app just really simplifies it. So like when I'm in line and there's like 2 people ahead of me, the wife always like gets on me for doing this last minute instead of like being prepared going into the store. But for whatever reason, I wait until I'm in line. And like, so when I'm in line, I'll bring it up and I'm like, oh, we're in the grocery store. This card gives me 4% cash back on groceries. Like I would definitely use that. Whereas if I didn't have that app, I'd probably getting like 1%. So getting 4 times your points, that's a huge win. Long story short, the app is free, but I'll put a link below to a referral link, and that's if you want the paid version. I think it gives you a month of it free or something. I don't know. Check it out. You don't have to use it. You can use the link just to get to the app if you want to, and then just do the free version. But basically the difference, to my understanding, is the free version is going to give you like all the data, and then the paid version automatically selects the rewards categories for you for the month. So like, sometimes let's say a card that you're using says, oh, I'll give you an extra 5% cash back this month on streaming services, but you have to remember to go into your email or your account and select streaming services as like the preferred thing you want your points to go to for that month. The app will do it for you automatically. It gives you your credit scores, your internal credit scores, like your FICO scores from each of the banks. Tells you when they last updated, your payments, if you have like a sign-on bonus and you got to spend X amount to get $200 back or something like that. It tells you about that. long story short, I think it's really dope. I think it's been helpful for me, and I think you'll benefit from it. So I'll leave that down below. Leave me comments with any questions or topics you want me to go over. All right, stay blessed, have fun, and don't forget to be a game changer.